We're often told that our DNA is this fixed blueprint for our entire lives. But what if it's not? What if it's more like a dynamic script, one that's constantly being edited by the world around us? Well, today we are diving into that incredible conversation happening between our genes and our environment. So let's just start with the big one, shall we? Are your traits, everything from your eye color to your personality to your risk for certain diseases, are they all permanently set in stone by your DNA? Is your destiny just written before you're even born? Yeah, the common view is that our genes are this permanent, unchangeable blueprint that we get from our parents, and that's that. But what if that blueprint is actually more like a set of suggestions than a rigid set of rules? You see, the real story, the interesting story, unfolds when those genetic instructions meet the outside world. Okay, so to really get how this works, we need to talk about a fundamental process called gene expression. Just think of it as the mechanism that lets our bodies flip these little genetic switches on and off, allowing us to adapt to our world in real time. So, what exactly is gene expression? Well, to put it simply, it's the process of reading a gene and then using that info to build something, usually a protein. But here's the crucial part. Not all of your genes are on all the time. Your cells are constantly making decisions about which genes to fire up and which ones to keep quiet. I love this way of thinking about it. Picture your DNA as this massive, complex control panel just covered in switches. Each one of those switches is a gene. But what flips them? The environment. That's right, signals from the outside world are constantly telling your body which genetic switches to turn on and which to turn off. All right, so what are these environmental signals we're talking about? What's actually doing the flipping? Let's look at a few absolutely amazing real-world examples of this whole process in action. First up, we've got the Himalayan rabbit. Now, this little creature is the perfect, and I mean perfect, visual demonstration of how something as simple as temperature can directly control a genetic trait. So get this, the rabbit has a gene for dark fur pigment, but that gene is temperature sensitive. In the warmer parts of its body, like its back, that gene is switched off, so the fur grows in white. But on the cooler parts, think its ears, nose, and paws, the gene gets switched on, and it starts producing dark pigment. The environment literally paints the rabbit's coat. How cool is that? And it's not just temperature. Light is another super powerful environmental switch that you experience every single day, whether you realize it or not. It's basically the master controller of your body's internal clock. You see, when light hits your eyes, it sends signals to genes that run your 24-hour cycle. Specifically, it tells the genes that produce melatonin, that's our sleep hormone, to just shut down. This is exactly why staring at the bright blue light from your phone late at night can mess up your sleep. You're sending a powerful signal to your genes that it's still daytime. And of course, you knew we had to talk about food. What you eat isn't just fuel. It's a constant stream of information that communicates directly with your DNA, telling your genes exactly what they should be doing. And honestly, there's no better example of this than the honeybee. If a larva is fed normal bee food, it becomes a regular old worker bee. But if that exact same larva is fed royal jelly instead, a completely different set of genes gets activated, and it triggers its development into a queen. They're genetically identical, but their destiny is decided entirely by their diet. It's incredible. Now, these environmental influences don't always just flip a switch for a few hours. Sometimes they can leave lasting marks on our DNA, essentially changing how our genes are read for years, maybe even a lifetime. And this brings us to the fascinating field of epigenetics. So, what in the world is epigenetics? Well, you can think of it as a layer of instructions on top of your DNA. These are little chemical tags that get attached to your genes, kind of like putting sticky notes or highlights in a book. They don't change the actual words in the book, that's your DNA sequence, but they totally change how those words are read. So here's how it works. An environmental signal, say chronic stress or a specific nutrient in your diet, triggers a cell to add one of these chemical tags to a gene. And that tag can then lock that gene in either an on or off position, sometimes for a very, very long time. Now, there are two main ways these epigenetic marks do their job. One is called DNA methylation. This one basically adds a chemical stop sign directly onto a gene, silencing it. The other method, histone modification, is more like a volume knob. It changes how tightly the DNA is packaged, making a gene either easier or harder for the cell to read. So, why does any of this matter? Well, because it fundamentally changes how we think about biology, about health, and even about who we are. It tells us loud and clear that you are not just a product of your genes.
I mean, this gene-environment conversation explains so much. It's why identical twins who have the exact same DNA can grow up to have different health issues or personalities. It's how your lifestyle choices, what you eat, how much you move, your stress levels, can directly impact your long-term health. It shows us that biology is beautifully, wonderfully flexible. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Your traits are not a monologue being dictated by your DNA. No, they are the result of a rich, complex, and lifelong conversation between your genes and your experiences. And that leaves us with a final, really empowering thought. If your genes provide the blueprint, then your environment and your choices are the architect. The plan might be there, but you have a powerful role in how the final structure actually gets built.